Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place. I could leave.
Guys, to our show, Best Freaking Friends Forever. We thank you guys for tuning in, and if you guys want to subscribe or like our video, click down below. Today we're going to talk about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and White Christmas. But first we're going to do our icebreaker, which is, what was your favorite Christmas movie? Or what is your favorite Christmas movie?
Yeah, mine is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I've watched it a million times, and probably a million more. I love that movie. Watch it every Christmas, and even when it's not Christmas. And I have all those movies, the ones with Chevy Chase. We have them all. So I like all of them, but that one's my favorite. I can't get tired of it.
Nice. See, I'm that way with mine. It's a Hallmark one from about, I think it's 2 or 3 years ago. It's called The Spirit of Christmas. And a lot of you probably haven't heard of it if you don't watch Hallmark movies, but it's basically about this man that kind of was, in the past, he was killed, not unintentionally, but he was killed, and he now gets to come back every Christmas because he's kind of cursed to that. Well, a landlord, a realtor comes to try to sell the property, and he comes back, and they kind of have a tiff, and then they end up falling in love, and he ends up at the end getting to stay with her when everybody thought he'd have to go away. Now that because eventually he finds out the truth. He finds out how he died, who killed him, and all of that, and he gets to stay, I love that part of the movie, when he gets to stay, and they realize he gets to stay, and he's not going anywhere. But that's my favorite. The Spirit of Christmas.
Nice. Yeah, because look at Ghost in that movie. He didn't get to stay.
No.
Yep.
Which made it sad.
Well,
because you kind of root for him. You root for him too, and then I think it's sad when you're like, oh, he'll get to stay.
Right.
Yep.
No, and it's funny because, Tony throws a fit because the vampires in Twilight sparkle when the sun hits them, which, throughout history, vampires are supposed to burn in the sun. And Tony's like, that can't happen. I was like, but it's her story to tell. That's the whole point of writing, is you can tell the story the way you want to. So if you want your vampires to sparkle, then they can sparkle. That's your writing. I remember the first time ever watching it. It was really frustrating to watch Twilight for the first time, but now I like them. They're good.
Yep.
All right. So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yes,
it was released on December 6th in 1964. It was made for TV movie or special.
Bodhi's birthday, December 6th.
Yes, it is. And it was directed by Larry Romer and Kizo Nagashima. I hope I pronounced that right. But because a lot of it was done in Japan, a lot of the filming or a lot of the puppet work or whatever. It was 1964. That was a while ago. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, or you know what I mean, that it's that old of a movie, but I guess when you watch it, it is.
Right. Well, in the song itself, I found a fact that says the song Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was a seasonal standard long before it was used in this film. It was written in 1939, and its popularity skyrocketed in 1947.
Well, and I found that the reindeer Rudolph, so before he even got his own show or own movie, he was actually created for Montgomery Ward's department store by the employee Robert May in 1939, so about the same time as the song, as part of the advertising campaign for them, which is kind of interesting to think.
Yeah. So, and another fact I found was the Santa puppet is 8 inches tall, and then young Rudolph is only 4 inches tall. Which he grows up in the movie, so he does get taller. But they had multiple, which this is in this too. He's 4 inches tall, and his nose really lights. The puppets are made of wood, wire, and fabric and are quite fragile. The Japanese company that handled animation made several copies of each puppet since they didn't last long under the constant handling of stop motion posing. And that's whenever they'll move, like if they want it to walk, they have to do one leg at a time and do that still every time. And then they'll feed it all together. Like they'll put it all together and then it moves a lot smoothlier. So that's how that works. So it's not like a puppet like you would think, like Sesame Street or marionette puppets where they have the strings. So these are, I mean, they're puppets, but they do the animation a little differently with them.
So I wonder how long it took them to actually do all of that. If they, I mean, I'm sure it was.
Yeah. And like, I remember a guy in college told me with Nightmare Before Christmas, it took forever to make that one but they learned little tricks and stuff to where it wasn't. But yeah, it takes a while to make those movies that are like
especially that. Especially if you do stills, yeah.
Yeah. And there's other movies that are like Rudolph with the similar puppets. There's like Santa's Coming to Town, right?
And I think it's Frosty one too. Does Frosty have that?
I'm pretty sure Frosty is a cartoon. I kept thinking it was a puppet, but I'm pretty sure that it is a cartoon.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Well, and it was interesting that he was supposed to be delivered by a stork to Donner and his wife, but that idea was scrapped when General Electric, which I didn't even know they were part of that, but yeah, General Electric brought in Burl Ives, which is the voice of the snowman, as the narrator, and it was filmed, so it was never filmed, and then so he appeared to be born naturally to them and took the last name Donner. So I guess it's Rudolph Donner.
Yep. Well, Donner's his dad, but does that mean that they just call him Donner? Because I know, like, I'll call my dad by his last name. So
maybe.
I mean, that's like even like in sports and stuff, they'll call you by your last name.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I never thought of that.
Yeah. So maybe his dad.
They call his wife Mrs. Donner.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
or the doe. Yeah.
So then that means all of the reindeers, their names are not their first names, like Dasher and Dancer and Prancer. Like that means all their names are their last names. So wonder what their first names really are. Definitely.
I know, right? That makes
definitely overthinking. Hey, Mr. Prancer.
So what was your favorite part?
Mine, I don't even like the movie, which we've talked about that. Because this is, when we watched it for this episode, it's the first time I've watched it as an adult. All the way through. I mean, you'll see bits and pieces or whatever. I guess my favorite part would have to be when they sing Holly Jolly Christmas there towards the end. I like that. But I just like the song and the little dances and stuff they do.
Yeah. My favorite part's when Rudolph is at the reindeer games for the first time and he just gets done with Fireball and he goes and talks to Clarice and she says he's cute or his nose is cute or whatever. And so he flies and he keeps repeating, she thinks I'm cute. She thinks I'm cute. I like that part. I thought it was.
And that is a cute part. I like that part too.
Cute part.
Well, and that's where he proves that he is pretty good at what he does. You know, everybody's down on him because of his nose, but really that doesn't matter. It doesn't lessen his ability because he has a shiny nose. And then like the noise that nose, like that noise, like I think that, I don't know, because in the movie it makes a noise, like a high pitch. That can't be, like, I don't know, because that's something so that you see and hear, because I can't imagine like a nose making a noise like that.
Yeah, because it's not like I mean, I guess if he was blowing it maybe, or you know what I mean, something like that, but it does, because in the song it doesn't talk about it making a noise. I mean, if we're getting technical, we're probably overthinking it again.
And it's like, and it's like, had a very shiny nose.
If you ever saw it, you would even say it glows, yeah.
Yeah. So, technically, like, according to the song, it really doesn't light up. It's just extremely shiny.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, if we get technical, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was like really thinking about it and analyzing it. Look at us. I was just watching it as an adult. I was really disappointed in it because like there's that part where Donner says, he goes to look for Rudolph and he says, "This is man's work," and I'm like, okay, like that's the mom. Of course she wants to go look for him. Like, and then her and Clarice. Hello, Clarice. They go to look for him. They end up going anyway.
Yep. But you got to think the time, like we talked about, the time period that this was written in. Men, I mean, that was the heyday of men going and bringing home the bacon, so to speak, and the woman being home taking care of the kids and making sure the home is okay and all that. And I think the movie with him, well, because, I think that it's just, that was the time of day that was made in.
Yeah. Well, and with Santa showing up and seeing him shortly after he was born, and he notices the nose and kind of makes a thing out of it. And even after he leaves, Donner's like, Santa's right. Kind of like, even his dad is now doubted because at first his dad was fine. But then when Santa mentions it, and that makes me, and that upset me about the movie. And then, Rudolph, like all these other ones we watch, like Beauty and the Beast, like with that one, it's like what you are as a person was what mattered to Beauty. And with this, nobody even appreciated Rudolph until he was able to benefit them.
Yeah.
And they didn't even like know his character. I would give the movie like 3 stars.
Well, and I think that was the message of the movie. I think finally, I mean, we talked about don't judge a book by its cover, but I mean, everybody, because we talked about the Island of the Misfit toys. And just because they were perfectly good toys, they just weren't the norm. I mean, the train with the square wheels instead of the round wheels, it was still a good toy. And the Jack, or the Charlie in the Box, I guess. Just because his name wasn't Jack, he was a misfit. And everybody can contribute. I mean, look at Hermie. He had his own specialties, and just because he didn't want to do the elf things and he wanted to be a dentist, I think that, the message of the movie is eventually, I mean, everybody will be seen for their strengths, hopefully, or they should be. They should be seen for their strengths, even if they are different. Sometimes that's what makes them good at what they do. They're different.
Well, and like even on the Island of Misfit toys, they're a misfit. Hermie, Cornelius, Rudolph, even there, they weren't accepted. Oh, that was bad. That's bad too.
Well, Moonracer, which I don't, like, even as a kid, we talked about this. I don't remember Moonracer. And I saw him and I was like, what is this? I was like, I don't remember this.
And what is he? Is he a misfit toy?
I'm assuming, because what lions have wings?
Right.
And how did he become, I mean, to me, he's the king of the island, so to speak. Right. I mean, he's the leader, I guess. I mean, they all...
Yeah.
I mean, because what did he say? When he said one of the toys, didn't he say to, like, show them to their chamber or show them to their... Was it chamber? Or, you know what I mean? So I'm assuming that means... Obviously, he's in charge. Right. So, yeah, he's the head misfit. I'm assuming, because what lion has wings?
Yeah. All right, so then we do White Christmas. We watched it, and that was the first time for both of us. It was the first time we had ever seen this movie, and I don't know. I like old timey movies like that, but this was another one I didn't care for. I'm hating on everything today, but I just didn't. I don't know. I've seen like Parent Trap. Like I like that, the older one of that, and. Oh, they made the black and white Nutty Professor. There was an old version of it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay.
And it's a good one. I like it. So yeah, I mean, I like all those older movies and musicals. I like I like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I mean, I could go on and on. I like all that stuff. So this one just was one I didn't like. Hello, Dolly. I like that. I love that one. Barbara Streisand. So yeah, I mean, but this one was one I didn't care for. My favorite part was though they're at the end where they're singing White Christmas and they're in their Santa outfits. And their costumes, their costumes are beautiful. Everything they wore, I really like.
Gorgeous. Yep.
So whoever did those did a really well job. I appreciate a good costume.
My favorite part was when when Bobby and Phil are meeting the Haynes sisters.
Yeah.
For the first time, and they're looking at him and they're like, "Hey, look at those blue eyes. You mean brown? No, blue. You mean brown?" And they're going back because they're falling in love with the two. Each is liking the one woman, and of course, Phil's always trying to set Bobby up because he thinks that Bobby is miserable. So he thinks if he makes him happy, he'll be happier too because Bobby will be happier. So that's like, and I just like their banter throughout the whole movie, like the actual actors, like Danny Kaye and No, it's not Burl Ives. Ben Crosby, yeah. So I just like their banter, and I think, I mean, for a 1954 movie, because this came out in October of 1954, and I mean, I don't know, I like their banter. I think all the actors get along. I mean, even the female character or actors with them.
Oh, we didn't do the stats on that. And with Rudolph, it was a TV release movie, so it didn't have any.
Right.
But this one does.
Yeah, this one, let's see, like I said, it was out in 1954 in October. Opening weekend, it only made 566,000 basically, which we did today, like we did the amount what it would be today, and that would be 5.4 million. So if you can imagine that for that time period.
That was good for it.
Yes. So it grossed almost $1 million. It was like 928,000 in the US, which would today be 8.9 million. So that's pretty cool. And cumulative worldwide, it made a little over $1 million. So that's, I mean, it did. I mean, it was a pretty, well, you got to look at the characters that are in it. I mean, it had Bing Crosby, it had Danny Kaye, which were two big, known people back then. You had Rosemary Clooney, who was huge back then. Vera Ellen, who played the sisters. So, I mean, those were all really big actors for that time.
Yeah.
So
another part that we both enjoyed was when they do the sisters duet, the guys do.
Yes, that was pretty funny. And the funny thing about that was that was not even in the script. Like that was just Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby messing around between takes. Mm-hmm. And the director was like, "I'm going to film this like this, and he never thought he'd use it. But then he was like, Danny Kaye and Bing, like when Danny would mess with Bing or Bing would mess with Danny and they'd laugh. That's a genuine laugh. Like they're genuinely laughing because they're clearly messing around, and that ended up being in the movie. And as I said, they're little cheap shots. Like what do they keep repeating? We're doing it for an old army buddy.
Yeah.
Let's just say we're doing it, that kind of stuff. And so.
Yeah, and that was talking about what they're trying to do is save his Vermont resort, or what is it?
Yeah. Because people are like, well, I don't think this is a winter or Christmas movie, and I think that's why it is. Because a week before Christmas, they go up to Vermont to be with the ladies, because they find out the ladies are going to Vermont. They were supposed to be going to New York, and then Danny Kaye's character ends up talking them into going to Vermont to be with the ladies, Betty and Judy. So they go and they find their general there from the army at the beginning of the movie, and he's bought this resort, so to speak, and it's going under and he's losing it, and I think he's end up gonna give it up, I think, because he just doesn't have the money for it anymore. So they come up with this way to fundraise and have all these acts come up at the very end, and then they get the army men that were under him to come up on Christmas Eve and see, come up and kind of, because he's kind of the general's kind of upset because he doesn't get to go back. He wants to go back full service, and he gets a letter saying that they don't need him or don't want him. That he's past his age where it would be a good idea for him to join again. So they end up saving the Vermont. They end up making money for him and helping him out.
Yep. Let me see here. I have look back to that. There wasn't very many that I found interesting. That this one that says a myth persists that all of Vera Ellen's costumes, down to her robe and sleepwear, were designed to cover her neck, which had been damaged by anorexia. But that was all a myth.
Yeah.
But you know, but that stuff was prominent back then, big time. I mean, I know it is now for sure, but I know. I mean, there was a singer that died from anorexia.
Karen Carpenter.
Yeah, they killed
the stress
her.
of it, the stress of everything, and just having to be perfect.
That's horrible damage to your body. It's not good.
Most of them don't even end up dying from that. They end up dying from complications that it caused.
Right, like a heart. I think the biggest thing is your heart. It really can do some heart damage. I mean, you're not getting the nutrients and stuff that your body needs, and it's not good.
Well, and the funny thing with Karen Carpenter is she, I mean, everybody has seen, I'm sure a lot of people have seen pictures of her at the end or close to the end. And it's kind of sad. She's vehemently, I mean, she's denying that there's anything wrong with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's so obvious. I mean, obviously, like if you've ever seen a picture of her in her later years, it's so obvious that something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I just get
I'm sure that she had enablers. I mean, Karen Carpenter did. I mean, there's a story out on her. I'm sure she had enablers that, you know, helped, you know, keep it under wraps. And
and we got to move on. You got to do this show. You got to do this. I'm sure the brother was, you know, obviously you got to think the brother had to have known because he's around her all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to see that she wasn't eating.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I lived with if I toured with my sister or brother or anything, you know what I mean? I would know. I mean, just like,
the mom and brother knew. There's just no doubt in my mind.
Oh, I guarantee it. And he tried to keep it a secret because he didn't want them to not tour anymore. He needed the money.
Yeah. Well, and that Karen Carpenter story is a really good one to watch. If you don't know who it is, definitely look it up. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube for sure. So, I mean, if you're watching us, you're watching YouTube. So, you know, go over and find it. It's a devastating story. And I've watched it and stuff, and they even say like her mom would go because the son was her pick. Yeah. And so I guess there was a time where Karen was on stage and she was singing, had a beautiful voice, and he played very well. He was very good at what he did as well. And somebody had commented and said, didn't she do a wonderful job? And the mother was, I can't remember her name, but she was like, oh, my son is perfect. Like, was complimenting him. It was like Karen wasn't even in her radar. And I just don't think, had it not been for Karen, they wouldn't have went.
And I think,
I mean, yes, them together, it was a good match for sure. But she's the one that carried that team for sure, too.
And I think he saw that. I think he was jealous of it for a little bit. I mean, I'm sure
he talks very highly of her now and stuff, and he has, you know, all the memories.
He feels guilty. I think he feels guilty because I think when you're in that business, and I'm sure Vera Ellen felt the same way, there's a lot of pressure to, especially if you're a dancer. Mm-hmm. And I mean, she was phenomenal. I mean, that's one thing I did love about this movie. Anytime she danced, I mean, it was just, I was enamored by it, just watching her. And, you know, just having to keep the physique and, you know, be on, and especially in that time period. I mean, you got to think, this is 1954.
Oh, yeah. You had to be on point at all times.
Well, and women were already, you know, not treated the same way as men anyway. I mean, let's be honest. And if you look at, I mean, you had two huge people that you were starring with, you know, I mean, I feel like, but her family was the same as Karen. They said that she didn't have it because it is a myth. They said that they've got pictures of her chest or her, you know, up area, and there's no, because it wrinkles you a lot is what it does.
Because they won't even drink water, and if you're dehydrated, that dries your skin out and causes wrinkles, and so.
But they said they've taken pictures, and they said that she had always had a small frame. Mm-hmm. And she danced a lot. She, you know, she was in shape.
Yeah.
For what she did.
Now they were back then, they were really good at covering stuff up.
Well, and I don't think back then, because I don't think Karen Carpenter really was even. I mean, even when she was sick, they didn't know a whole lot about it, and I think that was what the 70s or 80s. I
Yeah.
think when she was really sick, so I'm sure they wouldn't have known anything. I mean,
She was so young
it's
when
so
she
easy
died.
to. Yeah.
She
I
was
mean, it
so.
would have been easy to hide it, and no one would. I mean, no one would know. I
Mhm.
mean, they definitely wouldn't know how to fix it at the time. I mean, no one. I'm sure no one talked about it for sure at
Oh,
that
no.
point.
Well, yeah, and that, like you said back then, yeah, I mean, lots of the stuff was shoved under the rug. Like if there was something going on in your family, you just brushed it under the rug, and that was with any situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, look at pregnancy back then. I mean, they would send the girl off until she had the baby and come home, and nobody knew what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
everything.
no, I mean, yeah, just a lot of pressure on, and everybody involved. But
And
yeah, it's
not
a
to
good
say that
movie.
that's not going on now. It totally is. It's
Oh,
going.
I guarantee it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
think about how
getting.
many actors have said that they've had these issues.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Demi Lovato, she's had issues, and she was married to the 98 Degrees guy, Nick Lachey.
Jessica Simpson?
Yeah, she came out just recently that she was been an alcoholic.
Well, yeah, and that's another one of those things with the family and with everybody putting so much pressure on her and her, I mean, back in the day, especially when she
Yeah.
was younger.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
she writes a book about it, and she was in an interview, and she said like what finally woke her up was she couldn't even get out of bed for one of her kids' birthdays.
mm,
She was that bad, and I just I'm glad that she got the help she needed, and that's
absolutely.
my thing is like if you got an issue, please get help. Somebody is out there for you. Somebody will listen to you.
Well, that's
There's
the thing. There's such a stigma still, even
yeah,
today,
it's
on
a
any
mental
type of
health.
mental health. It's
Yeah,
just, it is such a stigma, and it shouldn't be,
no,
especially with what's
especially
going on now. I mean, with people, I mean, people probably need more help than ever right now. And yeah, I don't know. People, especially back then when this movie was made, wasn't going to get it. They were not. That was, you just didn't talk about it,
yeah.
even if it was going on. But yeah.
Well, Christmas movies that got really dark.
Yeah, we got off way off topic on that one, but yes.
Yeah, it was a good conversation. Well, that was it. We talked about our favorite Christmas movie. We want to know yours. Please comment and let us know. Have you watched these movies? If so, what's your favorite part in them? But please like, subscribe, share our video with your families and friends. Until next time, that's it in a nutshell.
Love